Okay, today I'm going to paint some lupine. And so first I'm going to start off by taping off my paper, and I like to use Arches 140-pound paper. And so once I get that all taped up, I'm going to start to mix my color. I like to use alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue. So I mix those together, and the reason why I like to mix colors together instead of just using like an already made purple is because it just kind of gives it more variety and interest. So I'll start to paint just little V-shaped petals, and I'll go down, leaving some white space because we are going to be adding in little green stems. So keep that in mind as you are painting these petals. And I like to add some water in to help it go a little bit more light, showing areas where the sun is hitting it and to give the flower some form. So go ahead and keep adding just these organic little V shapes as we go down the flower. And then as I go on the top, I want to add in some green. And I'm going to do green just because at the top of the flowers, they haven't completely bloomed yet, so they're still a little bit green. And do it while it's still wet, so then it will kind of bleed into each other. And the colors that I'm mixing right now are sap green and deep sap green and some viridian. Again, I like to do a mixture of different colors of greens just because I think it looks more pretty and adds interest. And so I'm using a tiny brush here. I think this is size 4, but a size 2 would also work really well. And I used a size 4 for the petals as well. So just in all those little white little holes is where I'm adding in those little green stems. And again, I like to do it while it's still wet because the paint bleeds into each other if you like the way that that looks. So now as I go to do the leaves, I'm doing the lupine shaped leaf. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just doing, this is a loose impressionistic type lupine flower, so not worry too much about making it exact. And then I'm going to come in and while the paint is still wet, I'm going to add in just some sap green, and I'm not going to play with it too much because I'm just going to tap it in there, and then when it dries, it'll dry really pretty. And then I'm going to add in some darker purple once the paint has dried, just to kind of be like the top layer of the petals and the flower, to make it look like there's multiple layers. And you can kind of choose how long you want to do this for. I mean, you can add as much detail as you want or as little as you want. It's just whatever your preference is. You can even go into the leaves and add some darker little veins inside the leaves. And now I'm going to do another lupine flower just off to the side, just kind of to help with the composition. I feel like it needed another little flower off to the side there. So again, I'm just doing these little V organic shapes, leaving those white little holes for me to add the stems in when I finish it. And adding in those little stems again while it's still wet, so that can bleed on down. Bring that stem down and then add in our leaves. And want to make sure to keep your hand loose as you're painting. Don't try to be so tight, because when you're tighter you tend to overwork things, and with watercolor you don't really want to overwork because you're going to lose all those pretty little brush strokes, and you don't want to control the paint and water too much because then you'll lose that pretty look that watercolor tends to give. And there you go. You have your 2 little lupine flowers. And go ahead and look in the comments section for links to the items I used.